Hi, good afternoon. My name is Harry Willson. I fly in two different lofts in the TRPF organization, Willson Jackson Street, which is the current loft we're sitting at, and Willson Lennon Street, which is in Lennon Street in Race View. And we have two comprehensive teams, similar lofts, flying from both sites. Stemela Muyisela, my man on the left here, is my trainer. He does everything. He selects the birds for the races. He does whatever has to be done. I am just a part-time advisor. I have a large company that I run and I have a business to run. I don't have time to spend time in the lofts. I also have a bit of pigeon lung, so I stay out of the lofts as far as possible. But I have a deep passion for pigeons. And that's what kept me interested in the sport for all these years, is my love of pigeons and the intrigue of flying pigeons and their unique homing ability to get home under all conditions to make it home to their perch. All right, 2023 was for myself a personal milestone. I managed to win the TRPF averages. We won 6 fed firsts in this loft and another one in Lennon Street, so 7 fed wins. I also won the Gauteng Combine single bird averages, which is the whole of Gauteng. All the big fanciers took part in that. I'm very proud of the accomplishment of my team and my pigeons that I've been building the team for many years. It's very satisfying when a plan comes together, because every year, maybe not been so quite hands-on, I seem to find little hurdles that set me back slightly and unable to reach full potential of the pigeons. The majority of my birds stem from 2 pairs of pigeons that I bought from Gaston van der Wouwe. And the moment I introduced them to my flock, I started producing federation level winners and not just the odd year and their club winner. They made a massive difference to my loft, and I jealously looked after these pigeons. In fact, after I saw the results in the first year, I didn't fly too many of their children for the next 2 years or 3 years until I could build a colony based mainly on those Gaston van der Wouwe pigeons. They excelled because they have, firstly, fantastic immunity, and secondly, their results stand up to the best that there is to offer at the moment. I believe in immunity of pigeons. I've bought many pigeons over the years, and unfortunately, by collecting so many pigeons, I also collected a zoo of bacteria and different infections that might get to them, which diminishes their performance at the end of the day. But the Van der Wouwe's from day one showed that they have a very strong constitution and immunity. I've then added to them original lines from South Africa, because they are bred over the years for our conditions, namely the Tom Locks. I've had great success with the Tom Locks over all the years, and I've always had a Tom Lock somewhere in my loft. Even from the early days of 1985, just about, when I started pigeons and I knew nothing, I collected anything under the sun. I started in Potchefstroom, where the town itself had maybe just over 60 fanciers. The union, or had probably 180 to 200 members. That was in Potch those days. I think Potch now, from 60 members in the town of Potch, is down to about 12. And not too many of them gave up. They all got old and passed on, and a few of them gave up along the road. But it just shows you what pressure the sport is under. So I always encourage new people to get involved and develop their passion for the pigeon sport, so that they can derive as much joy as I have over the different years that I've been in and out of the sport, culminating in great success this year and hopefully going forward. I believe very strongly in genetic heredity. In other words, there are certain lines that produce well, such as these Van der Wouwe Kaasboer pigeons that I've brought in. And it's horses for courses. You'll see on different conditions, different days, certain strains or certain family lines within a strain will come on a hot, hard day, and others will come on a fast, cooler day. So there are little anomalies within a family strain, but you're trying to get an all-rounder as possible to get the best results from the first race right down to the last race. In 2022, I had the only bird on home on the day in the whole TRPF, and that was a very inbred Van der Wouwe out of my top number one hen. A son and daughter of hers produced 2031 TRPF 22, only bird home on the day. A fantastic performer. Obviously, she was bred for stock and then proved it. She won 3 sisters that weekend, and I think Victoria West 2 weeks before that she was 8th fed. So she stepped up, and she could do the long road. And then generally, the rest of them, it's a bit of a luck of the draw in the beginning races. So these short races, it's condition on the birds, the winds, the position, all count in your favor or against you. But the birds have to be in the first pack to score. And I try and keep my birds up front on every race, never mind the conditions. And these birds can stand up to it. Food, I'm quite particular in that I try and avoid just getting any food because of, if you're not sure of the source, you might get toxins, mycotoxins on the food. And so I prefer the imported food only for the reason that I know it's been properly sanitized before use. But I do use local mixtures. I believe we've got some of the best crops in the world, but it's just the storage facilities to the point where I've got to use them. I don't always trust that. So I use imported food where I can, but I supplement it with local food using a mixture starting with higher protein early in the week, heavier carbohydrates at the end of the week. Same with the long distance. Just increase the carbohydrates, the petrol at the end, adding in fine seeds for the oils and to store energy in the liver of the pigeons. It's a very fine balance between what to feed, how much to feed, and the amount of work you put in. And I've found over the years that because I'm doing it remotely, I've made many mistakes. And I've battled always to find the balance. Then it's too cold, then they overeat, then they do this, then they do that. And I think I was just very fortunate this past season that weather played a very big role in my preparation, that it was quite a warm season. We didn't go through those massive cold snaps. So I managed to maintain the condition of the birds through the season by doing as little as possible wrong, keeping to the same steady program. And if I can say, adjustments are only made with a little micro switch and never with a let's change everything this week or let's change everything next week. Stick to the same program. I used to toss very heavily. I definitely do not do that anymore. I toss a lot lighter now, give the birds race exposure. I only fly every second week. I don't double birds up. So I give them enough time to recover, and it also gives me time to build their reserves, sort out their love of the sport. There are methods where you can make them race every week. I prefer not to. I get the best out of the birds. Every second week we'll try and send the team full, same birds, after every 2-week period. Bringing a few fresh ones each time, but it's basically 2-week cycled teams. Health is by far one of the biggest contributors to pigeon performance. I have my birds tested with Dr. Rob Conradi every Monday morning. It's unnecessary to treat any conditions that might not be present, so I don't want to guess. If there's something wrong, I will treat. I I try not to treat, and I keep the birds on their natural immunity. By far the best way. And I think if I've ever made mistakes, it was trying to add a muti or something. I found my vitamins that I supplement with, I've diluted by half at least, especially in the warmer days when the birds drink a lot more water. I then cut the dosage of the vitamins and minerals and whatever that gets added to a quarter to allow the birds to get as much clean water, clean food as possible with minimal intervention from my side. I also then try and give a variety of seeds so that they get enough variety in their diet, so that there's no shortcomings that have to be supplemented with artificial vitamin supplements. And I found that way I get a more consistent, better level of performance over a longer period of time. That bird by Egbert Kelly out of his 810 Golden Kareli line, arrived at the loft well ahead of the rest of the birds, and it was a cock, and he landed on the landing board pronking, and he was full of energy and on a very low 1166 I think velocity. He showed me he's got vitality, he's got everything that it needs for a pigeon, that I look for in a pigeon. He looked magnificent. I then heard from some people who handled him, and they said, this is a fantastic specimen. And now that he's in my loft, I can tell you he's a fantastic specimen. What a beautiful pigeon. And I think going forward, I'll be using him on my better hens, and hopefully he will add that dimension that we seem to find. We find a few races every year where we have either overnight conditions or we have a bit elevated heat, and they've got to do a bit of mileage. Generally, the Albrechts I found in the past were a bit slow developing and would be better at 2-3 year olds, where I wanted birds to mature earlier, because I get a lot more pleasure out of them out of the first year, and I can see who's performing. But I've seen now that you need slightly older birds as well. He performed as a yearling within that loft, but I think he would have raced even better over 2 and 3 years. Guys, you don't get a win in a bottle. I can tell you that I work on the pigeons. Stemelia will tell you 365 a year. We pay the same attention to them off season as we do in season. We don't just leave them to their own devices. I do not treat any antibiotics, muti of any kind from the day that those birds, after the 2 weeks that they are weaned. I will treat them for worms, coccidiosis and crop canker then. And from that date of weaning, and obviously get paramyxo inoculation once, another month later again. But in between that and that I start working with the birds on the road, they will not receive any treatment at all. Their natural resistance must build up. They must be strong enough on their own to make it. It's survival of the fittest at the end of the day, but we support them as far as possible. And the best way I can support my pigeons is by having birds with superior immunity. I do find that once they get amongst other pigeons in the baskets and they spend extended time amongst other pigeons, you can pick up new bacteria and new microbes that you might not have such good immunity against, and you do find pigeons getting ailment here and there, and then you would have to treat. Without this big team of people, it's not possible. Everybody has a role. Stamina does all the selection of the birds every week for the race team. He picks them for the Sunday before the next week, on condition that they are that Sunday. So it's his hand that says which birds are going to the race. That's the way I taught him, and he's learned the trade that way. And he gets on the road early in the morning. He makes sure that if the truck goes to the depot, he'll be there as well, so that they get the right exposure to the packs. And without my team of chaps, obviously it wouldn't be possible for me to fly pigeons, because I'm a businessman. I've got a big company that I run, that I love doing. It keeps me getting up in the morning, but the pigeons is what's ticking in the back of my mind the rest of the time. And my relaxation and my time off is thinking and paying attention to the pigeons they surround and their general health. Thank you very much.